purple sheet, the part of it is like the program flow, and the other part is evaluation. People have this thing, like I've heard people say people don't come to Martin Luther King Jr. Drive because they fear for their lives or whatever. And I must be honest, we did have some shootings over here recently. But those were the first shootings I've lived over here since '85. And for on this corner, on this street, God, that was '85 when home I went. Okay.
Can I get some programs, please?
Only made 25, but there's 1 or 2 more than like in the book.
Let me get one.
Did you get your book?
So the purple sheet. Okay. So anyway, I just want to say this street right here is probably safer than Peachtree or Buckhead. We don't have as many shops or as many places you can buy stuff or as many places you just like to hang out. But I guarantee you, and I probably, the people to the Chamber of Commerce will probably object to me saying this, but I guarantee you, there's probably more robberies in Buckhead than right around here where we are. Clyde looked at me like, nigga, you crazy. That's okay. Yeah, I said it. I said it. But I've been to this, because I remember I used to get the little paper from Roswell, and they had the little blotter. It'd be like a whole column of like armed robberies and break-ins and stuff. I was like, God, they have this kind of stuff in Roswell? And I know we have a few in Vine City and a few in English Avenue, and then we got the COU. But God lives up there since '85, and I've never felt in danger. Maybe that's because I'm a male, and who know no fear. But that's okay. You can, anyway. Read the poem, like I told Celine. So anyway, we're just happy you're here. And what's going to happen, we've actually got her. We've invited Red River. We've invited Sister Gabrielle. And as soon as I read my poem, a young lady I met, Kessie Kimmett, who I wanted to ask if she was related to any of my, the Kimmett fraternity people. You know that? That started the fraternity called Kimmett.
I know my dad. That's the only Kimmett I know.
Who's your dad?
His name's a new Kimmett, but he doesn't live around here.
Yeah, live around here. He go to Morehouse?
He did go to Morehouse.
I bet he's a part of Kimmett.
He might be. I wouldn't be surprised.
Matter of fact, Zaki, who was supposed to be here today, this brother named Kenneth Zaki, who actually made me put my pen away, because Kenneth Zaki is like, and Robert Earl Bashir Price are probably 2 of the most dynamic poets that I know personally. And I used to write poetry all the time, just go out and read them to people like, you want to hear my poem? But after I met Zaki, and heard Zaki, and met Robert Earl Bashir Price, I stopped writing poetry. Because I said, if I couldn't say it as well as Zaki, or as well as Bashiri, I didn't even need to say it. But thank God for like storytelling. And then I started writing stories. And then the stories and life just brought me more poetry. So I'm honored that I could beat someone like Zaki who would say, don't even read that. He would never say that, but I would say it based on what I'd read compared to what I heard. So I hope he comes. But having said that, I want to read this little poem called Don't Be Surprised, and then I'm going to get out the way for Kessie, and then we're going to go ahead. So I tell you what, come on Kessie, what I got? Call this inspired by Baraka and Hakeem Abudi and all those poets of the Black Arts Movement, because like Sarah now is 19 and coming in this whole poetry thing at 17, 18, 19. My intro was the Black Arts Movement, Baraka, Donna Lee, Larry Neal, Sonia Sanchez, all those people. So even in Augusta, and we got that poetry, it inspired us to, like I say, become nationalists and a whole lot of other things. This piece is called Don't Be Surprised. Don't be surprised when the people rise up to overthrow and overturn those now on the throne who rob us with unfair, unjust, oppressive fees from banks to utility companies, insurance company, ticket sellers, and all the rest. The bank is on. $7 fees for tickets, $15 to change an address, $2, $3, and $4 to pay a bill. Street criminals are kinder. They take what you have and leave you in pain, sometimes injured. But they don't rob you with the protection from the law. So don't be surprised when we rise up to overthrow and overturn your wicked system. You can't hide any longer. We're quietly growing stronger, and we feel no compassion for everyday thieves, and even less for corporate crooks who rob us in the fine print. So don't be surprised when we rise up to overthrow and overturn those sitting on the throne by imposing fees for things that make their work easier. Time will come when we'll say, hell no, no more. Your days on the throne will soon end. Until then, I have to pay the bill and the late fee. So, Cassie Kimmett, come on, so Ron's got this.
So, coming up next is Kessie Kimmett. I don't know a lot about this young lady, but I do know, and I'm really excited, she'll be joining me in Brandeis next year as a part of Brandeis Posse 2. I've heard like rave reviews about her poetry, so I'm really excited to hear what she heard. And hopefully we'll be slamming together as a club.
Come on down, Miss Kimmett.
Okay, I'm reciting a piece I wrote. This year, I went to Doug. Don't know. It was a little interesting. It was an interesting experience. So this kind of came out of that. It was my first public school. So yeah. There are only brown faces on my inner city school bus. Born and raised in this state of mind in this day and time, I don't know how to tell them this is the closest to hatred I've ever come. Not that they could hear me anyway through headphones, yet I too am guilty of drowning myself in indifference. Deafening lines, empty minds, full hallways. You'd be surprised how little time it takes in a place before you start adopting mental restrictions. Like caged animals, cacophony so loud they do not realize locks made of ignorance are not easily broken, and yet I've learned not to equate articulation with intelligence. They slur their words, but it does not mean their dreams not as crystal clear as the stars they reach for. And do not try to read the graffiti on the walls of their chest. Some things are 1,000,000 times more beautiful when you do not understand, but never more uglies when you do not take a stand. Single file, faces file past, and I'm forced to ask how much empty space behind their eyes has already been plastered with advertisements for things that only hold us bonded, followed by the legally mandated advisement, drink responsibly. This product may cause a distortion of cultural pride. Smoking this mindset may cause a mind to rest on trivial things like designer, clothes, shoes, rings. Wrapped around our culture is a noose. We are too busy pointing fingers at the ones that tied the knot in the past. We do not realize we are hanging our future with the weight of our excuses. I have learned that there are kids in southern Georgia that fight in high school hallways rather than at home, because at home there is no one there to save them. But what are we fighting for? We as a people fail to ask the vital questions like, do our daughters feel beautiful in their own skin? Light, dark, short, tall, thick, thin? Do they know the only way a man can ever love them is if they learn to love themselves? Do our sons know what it means to be men, fathers, husbands? Do they know the only thing holding them down is their refusal to see the chains tattooed to their chests? Tatted up, they are looked down upon by ancestors that fought so we again will never have to be labeled, and yet we label ourselves ugly, ghetto, ratchet, stupid as fuck. Look around, we are the only people trying so hard to be something we are not. The only people running away from our education to stand, watch our own kind die, and we wonder why. There are states that build prisons based on the number of little brown boys and girls in 3rd grade that cannot read. What decisions are we making today that will save us from our tomorrow? How are we honoring our ancestors? Do we know where we come from? But almost more importantly, where are we going?
Where is Brother Salim? You want her? I got you there. Can't find a little list, but I know I had you say.
So does anybody want to try and rhythm with me? All right. All I'm asking is that you try. Some people don't make it, but try it. All right. So what Brother Akbar didn't share with you is that I'm also the author of a children's book.
I forgot that part.
Yes.
Oh, you want to do
And what I'm about to do for you is what I hope will turn into a children's book. It's a little rhyme I wrote for motivation of our children. So I do need a little help, especially from the youth. Take a look in the mirror. Tell me, what do you see?
See a beautiful, inspirational, aspirational young spiritual.
I like that. That's exactly what I'm hoping to see. That means you see what I see.
Oh, wow.
A beautiful child with a bright future ahead. Beautiful child, precious one, glowing skin kissed by the sun. You look in the mirror, you see who you are. What do you see? A shining star. Beautiful child. Beautiful child. Beautiful child. Pretty young girl. You have what it takes to conquer the world. Determined young boy, you have a plan. One day you shall be a powerful man. Son of the earth, Africa's daughter, brought over here across the water. You carry the spirit of your homeland. Beautiful child, you proudly stand. Beautiful child. Beautiful child. Beautiful child. More precious than gold. A gem for the whole world to behold. Skin of bronze, strong dark hair. You look in the mirror and see royalty there. A queen mother, a warrior king. You can accomplish anything. You're gifted and smart, and you have a vision. Beautiful child, you're on a mission. Beautiful child. Beautiful child. Beautiful child. Your father's so proud, watching you stand out in the crowd. Shining so bright, aiming so high. Spread your wings, 'cause you're ready to fly. The sky is the limit to what you'll achieve. Success is all yours if you believe. So beautiful child, get ready to soar. The time is coming and the world is yours. Beautiful child. Beautiful child. Play with me. All right. Beautiful child, you're taking a chance. The music may change, but still you can dance. You're showing such grace, you have no fear. You know your ancestors are always near. You're standing so tall upon their shoulders, they'll keep you inspired as you grow older. So beautiful child, what do you see? Look in the mirror and then tell me.
Next. Come on. Yeah.
The piece that I'm about to do was inspired by something that happened on campus. I go to Brandeis University. It's a predominantly white private school in Waltham, Massachusetts, which is right outside of Boston. And I guess we have a frat culture there, but not like a Black Greek frat culture. It's a different scene. But this is an incident. This tells the story of an incident that happened at a frat party. He didn't know I was watching. Not that it mattered, he was gone. Too many rap songs taken straight to the head left him dizzy. Racially slurred words stumbled out his lips. I just happened to be there. My ears, a breathalyzer, registering over 5 times the legal limit of cultural insensitivity, concentrated in his stream of consciousness. I guess Hell Week burned away his inhibitions. Scorched any remnants of the reverence instilled in him the day he realized white men really couldn't jump. Set fire to his ego, fire hot like a burning crucifix in Malcolm's front yard. His heart pumps vodka and cranberry. Bittersweet toxins distract him from the void left by parents with too much money and too little time to nurture. He dreams of belonging. Learned how to be a man from Yu-Gi-Oh cards and shoot 'em up video games. Survived high school by the thread of his masculinity, but those letters gave him enough social rope to lynch cultures, left hanging from his neck like novelty bling, reducing a people into a party theme. See, this basement reeks of strange fruit. Puke-stained apologies stomped into the dirt of the floor dirt. Shades of brown tracked through the house of American history. Cannot be erased no matter how many pledges scrub their allegiance stainless. They hang on to the banner of brotherhood. Fighting to the surrender of white panties waved by drunk fingers off the edges of worn couches. It seems somewhere between rush and probate, these insecure assholes graduated. From softcore immaturity to full frontal ignorance. In the black of this room, rubbing against my black ass with hopes that maybe I'll forget. Involuntarily open these ebony gates, granting entry into kingdoms daddy's money can't buy. Nigga, please. You are a slave shackled to your sense of entitlement. Mine a rusty cotton gin, incapable of pulling apart the truth from the fluffy post-racial bull they tried to sell me when I applied to school. Now you best get to picking for massa, get to whipping, take this tongue lashing, boy. I'm getting all my licks in because I am sick and tired of teaching white folks. So I hope these words rip welts. Hope the scars left on your psyche haunt you for centuries. Rip apart your family, steal your culture, then ration you progress under a rose-colored glass ceiling, paint a bullseye on the back of your hoodie and chase you into a prison built on your own back. And I promise, you can't get more nigga than that.
Whoa, you go, girl. Go, girl. That's our baby.
Okay, Brianna, come on down.
All right. You're the generation's me. Go ahead, girl. You're not going to make it more difficult. If the morning should come and you don't find me ready, I'll be out back, carrying my dreams in a brown paper bag and learning to walk on broken glass. That's just to address both generations, because right now, in 2012, the spectrum lives on. Right here in this room right now, we're all part of the same spectrum. And so first I would like to honor the black women here. This first poem is entitled She Be. And this poem was written for my mother. It took me about 5 minutes to write it. But I think it took me like an hour to edit, so I just, I don't read the poem that much because every time I read it, I think I see something else I want to edit, so. There is a woman on my block who soothes feelings of winter with summer words. She dons the regalia of fearlessness as her bulletproof vest and leaves smooth sailings in the bedroom. Neighbors can't recall any dark testaments in the hallways of her life, 'cause she don't mimic Sadie Mae on days of blue. Shoot. She be making folks dream up realities of Hoppin' John and catfish with butter sliding over cornbread on a Friday night, where I too have found myself in her kitchen, captured by the delicious mercy of her pots and pans. She be passing my window, carrying blatant profanities of whomsoever's crisis she living at the time. You see, she ain't never had no spare for speaking in the sweetness of syllables. She be gliding to and fro, licking raw wounds from other folks' souls. Head be peacock erect. She be both ebony goddess statuesque. She be both Tarzan and Jane before the myth ends and credits roll. Say she ain't never confronted loneliness. Ain't got time for triviality. She be too busy putting out fires round blind folks' heads, be dishing out bits of sun to black sheep, be treading through autumn's mist, snatching spring out of skies. She be too busy doing a provocative dance with life to shout a moments look in wrong directions. She be on my block, soothing feelings of winter with summer words, making every day a homecoming. This next poem that I'm going to read is dedicated to the men here, all of the men here today, and it's entitled, this poem I wrote is entitled, The Creators. And I guess this came from having 3 brothers, there's 8 of us. It was 8 of us. Who birthed you, brother? Who brought you through so full of you? Who birthed you, brother? The coarseness of your hair softens my eyes. You are nectar from the pyramids, built by Cheops in 3730 BC. Your Nubian lips still speak of ancient Sphinx, and you strut like Prince Abd el-Rahman and negotiate your world to the likes of King Yusuf. Had you been born a pharaoh, I could not have loved you more. Who birthed you, brother? Your lineage, a womb from aged old loins, reflects Abraham Hannibal's fiery spirit, the protectorate of generations to come. Who birthed you, brother? Your hands are Georgia's molded red clay, and voice reverberates of Mississippi's blues. Whether you are New York's token Wall Street, Chicago's 7 o'clock anchorman, Detroit's slums, or the next president of the United States. Talk about a spectrum. Wrote this 20 years ago. You'll always be Hannibal's fiery spirit, cleansed at the nausea, preparing for the final passage. Who birthed you, brother? Asata? Nefertiti? Shanga? Must have been. Had to been someone from the sun.
Ashe.
I'm going to read this. I'm just going to read 2 more pieces because I can be long-winded. This poem, this piece right here is actually, the 2 pieces I'm going to read are from a play, or off-Broadway play I wrote in New York a long time ago. And this particular piece in the play, in a nutshell, the play is about 3 kids who grow up in Harlem from childhood and how their life takes 3 different turns and why. One child becomes a journalist. The other one, he becomes a preacher. And the other one becomes a drug addict. And like I said, it's all poems and it's choreo poems, so it has a lot of movement in it. And this particular piece that I'm going to read now is almost like an ominous voice over the crowd. It's played by a homeless woman who everyone on the block, you know, they think she's crazy. She always has some kind of message she's talking about, whatever. So this particular day, you know, when they see her, usually she has on these big galoshes boots, and, you know, her hair is totally in disarray, and, you know, this big overcoat on, no matter how hot it is out in New York City. And she has this shopping cart. She's always pushing this shopping cart. That's how she's known. And this is her talking to anybody and everybody, because she talks to anybody and everybody. And this is when the audience is first introduced to her as a character. She comes out from the back of the stage into the audience. So she comes out from the back. And this was written, wow, 25, 26 years, 25 years ago. So let's think of the spectrum. The intergenerational spectrum. Someone said, where are we going? And I look at this, you know, and it reminds me kind of like, what's of that piece, the singer, what's going on? Marvin Gaye. I'm nervous. I'm presenting years. Okay, Marvin. Thank you, everybody. My life. Well, no, that's not how she does it. My life. My life is a rat in a trap. My dreams have turned green like the mold on the cheese. The plate they feed us from comes from Reagan and his crew. It's a slow death, a slow death. It's planned for me and you. Don't eat the cheese, y'all. Don't eat the cheese. Don't eat that cheese. The sign of the times ain't flashing Broadway lights. Wake up, brother, because it ain't making my life no road map home. They sent a man to the moon. Don't nobody, damn it, want to save my people. Don't eat the cheese, y'all. Don't eat the cheese. Michael Stewart dead and gone. Police brutality lingers on. Nelson Mandela locked in a cell, told apartheid to go to hell. Bloated, empty bellies in Africa. My people are starving. Unemployment on the rise. Crime reaching new time highs. We know inflation better than we know ourselves. They gave us heroin for our veins. Now my children use crack to break their brains. Oh, help me, please. It's all insane. Don't eat the cheese, y'all. Damn it. Don't eat the cheese. You see, it's real simple. At first they said I won. My freedom had finally come. And I was pleased. So they poisoned me with the cheese. Don't eat the cheese, y'all. Don't eat the cheese. I had a piece of cheese on the performer, and then she threw it out in the audience. It was a necklace, and it had one bite. Oh well. Okay.
All right.
This is the last piece I want to read. Can I read one short one and then read that one? Okay, this is a short one. You all adults.
Just one more.
Just one more. Okay,
And
we're
then
gonna
we
do.
can come back
Okay.
later. Or you can find it and still do it later if you like.
This is my name.
Yeah, it's kind of like a long something. Can somebody, brother, can you play the drums just kind of slow and low? Thank you. This piece is entitled The Meeting. This piece was not in the play. We seek the power to cleanse, nourish, restore all that is lost. Where is the river? Black elk bends on worn out knees, planting the corn, tilling the land. His profits stolen. His legacy boundaried on Indian reservations, red-eyed tears got got to get there. Oh, black elk, where is the river? Asian woman, unbound your ankles. Take a step forward anyway. Working from sun up till forever. Feeding the children through your shackles. Asian woman, keep walking toward the river. Got to get there. Modern concentration camps genocide your brain. Jewish Falasha warrior anguish still seeps through our veins. Hear the cry. Hope to find the river before we die. Tell El Barrio, do not despair. Though the night blows never-ending winds, our fight is strong. My brother, prepare a place at your table. Save us a rumba for midnight. Nana Dua, got to get there, got to find the river. Nana Dua, gonna see the sun beyond mangled bodies, bloody limbs, gonna find strange fruit purged from his land. The rising of spirits lost beyond the drums of the dead, hear them beating. Nana Dua, hear the drums? They are waiting at the river. We are coming.
Can I take a picture with you? Reed, you ready?
We're going to change the chair for Sister Malkia.
At least,
Excuse me, thank you.
at least 3 or 4 things about somebody. Is that Dwight Spitz? Oh no, oh my God. Look at the power of poetry, oh my God. Did you bring Kenneth Zaki with you? No.
Not this time.
I got you. So anyway, can anybody tell me at least 3 things about somebody that you met during the intermission? All right. Okay. Come on up. Come on, Slim. Hey, that's the two. All right. God, how many prizes I got? I'm basically in a mode to give these books away because there's no need of me keep moving them from A to B, okay? So I'd rather for people to have them in their hands and at their houses than me storing them in some doggone warehouse somewhere. So anyway, who did you meet?
I met Ayana.
You met Ayana?
I did.
But you knew Ayana already.
No, we just met today.
Oh my God.
Yeah, and so one of the things, she attends Georgia Southern, and she's majoring in fashion, and she's Rod's friend.
She's Rod's friends, okay? You may be seated, okay? Thank you. All right.
I met AJ.
AJ, okay?
She's also Sarat's friend.
Okay,
She goes to Brandeis.
okay.
Sarat, and she's not a poet.
She's- All right.
All right. I met this real wonderful woman named Qualisa. She's a native Atlantic.
What's Carlisa?
Qualisa, there she's in
Carlisa.
Qualisa.
All right.
She's a native Atlantic. She's a graduate of Douglas High School. She's a member of Toastmasters, and she's an administrative assistant.
Okay. All right. Okay. All right. Wow. Okay.
I would like for you to meet a female black pediatrician. Let's hear her.
Okay.
She was born in Georgia in Macon, and her daughter is in medical school.
Okay.
All right.
My God, thank you. And do you know where the stage I was on with the Arche and the blood? The Douglas. Okay, talk to me.
I'd like to present Chief Ayanifa Fabamaleke. She's been with us for 6 years. She conducts services in her home every week for those who are serious seekers of the truth. I asked her, what brought you to Atlanta? And she said, the Spirit. And what brought you here? The Spirit. Chief Ayanipa Fabamahaleke.
All right, thank you. You already got this.
I have one, thank you.
Wait a minute. Do you have this?
I may have that, but I'll
Right, if you have it already. Ernestine is part of our storytelling group right now. Not only was she the first person to read and critique my novel, but anyway, it's a whole lot of things. So anyway, I want to introduce now Red River Reed, okay? And Reed, like a lot of us in elementary school, meet people like Langston Hughes and Paul Laurence Dunbar and just Claude McKay, that whole era of, I guess, 40s and 50s and 30 poets. This brother here does so much with Langston Hughes, so I'm just going to shut up and read. I'm going to actually do maybe 2 pieces, okay? So it's on you.
Good evening, everybody. I have to begin by thanking my fellow poet and friend, Akbar, for this opportunity. Had not really seen him in several years and was glad to read the email and made myself available. And then I live in this hood.
Talk to me. Do you feel endangered?
No, I feel I'm a torch because that is my spirit, and I guess this is where divinely I should be. And that's the spirit part there that'll come up later. At this time, I'm going to ask the drummer to do whatever he feels quietly or in spirit with this poem that I'm about to do. That started an 8-year, what is now a 10-year, 8-month journey with Langston Hughes. I'm a Louisiana native, arrived in Atlanta in the wake of Katrina, and I've been here since that time. But my journey started on Louisiana soil, and maybe there are other Langston Hughes performers out there, but I think a uniqueness I have is that I was introduced to Langston Hughes by an Angola prison inmate, where I was the corrections sergeant at the time. I went home and recited this poem that has changed my life forever.
Did you say the inmate introduced you?
Oh yeah, he gave me a book of poems because officers were allowed to read. It kept them awake, okay? Rules are different in prisons. And they noticed that I read, and I would even get to recite. And I took a poem home, anthology home, and looked through the book, and boop. Had heard of Langston Hughes, remember when he died. Got to hear Coretta Scott King do a beautiful reading of Mother to Son. But I stopped at The Negro Speaks of Rivers and wish to share that one with you. The Negro Speaks of Rivers by Langston Hughes, 1921. I've known rivers. I've known rivers ancient as the world and older than the flow of human blood in human veins. My soul has grown deep like the rivers. I bathed in the Euphrates when dawns were young. I built my hut near the Congo, and it lulled me to sleep. I looked upon the Nile and raised the pyramids above it. And I heard the singing of the Mississippi when Abe Lincoln went down to New Orleans. And I've seen its muddy bosom turn all golden in the sunset. I've known rivers, ancient, dusky rivers. My soul has grown deep like the rivers. Thank you. And for this final poem.
Is this Mother to Son?
No, this is the mother's grandmama.
Okay.
Okay, and I'm going to ask the elder to make her way. Chief, come on down. I need an elder here. And you fit the bill sure enough today. And she is a fan of mine. Anytime anyone has heard me, I claim them as a fan, whether they do or not. But we met in 2009 during National Poetry Month.
Great.
And I think your church,
And Victory
Victory.
AME on
So-
Olive Farm, another forbidden neighborhood
But,
called Smoky Hollow.
I'm glad to have this lady sit here and represent, because as he sort of intimated, with mother to son, I always use a son, a young man. And to be frank, in the last 6 months, I've been using 3 or 4 black boys, if I can find them, to sit and listen while I do that poem. But then, historically, on April 21st, 4 weeks ago, I met an elder who began to feel me and love me, and I said, well, I'm going to inject her. So you become the second elder to sit as I share this poem in which Langston takes each of us back generations. Your great-grandmother, your grandmother, your grandmother, and even her grandmother. But it speaks to what the young lady said about the brothers and who birthed you or whatever. The Negro Mother by Langston Hughes. Children, I come back today to tell a story of the long, dark way that I had to climb, that I had to know, in order that our race might live and grow. Look at my face, dark as the night, yet shining like the sun, with love's true light. I am the child they stole from the sand 300 years ago in Africa's land, 300 years in the deepest south. But God put a song and a prayer in my mouth. God put a dream like steel in my soul. And now, through my children, I'm reaching my goal. Now, through my children, young and free, I realize the blessings denied to me. I couldn't read then. I couldn't write. I had nothing back there in the night. Sometimes the valley was filled with tears, but I kept trudging on through the lonely years. Sometimes the road was hot with sun, but I had to keep on till my work was done. I had to keep on, no stopping for me. I was the seed of the coming free. I nourished the dream that nothing could smother deep in the breast of the Negro mother. Thank you. Thank you.
May I?
Okay.
He wants
Thank you, Reverend. Oh.
Thank you.
Does everyone have this purple sheet? Before I bring up my kid, we're going to do, it's quite extensive program. I only printed out 25 of them, so that's okay. I'm glad I didn't have enough. So wonderful. But basically, I want you, if you still have that purple sheet, I want you to tell me, is this your first time at the House of Ujamaa? That should be a yes or no. Okay? All right. I want to tell me, is this your first time on Martin Luther King Jr. Drive? That should be a yes or no. Have you felt safe during your visit? That should be a yes or no.
Yeah.
And then you can do this later. What did you like most about Spirit Spectrum? Okay, you can save that for the end. And what could we have done to make Spirit Spectrum more enjoyable? I want you to wait to the end for that one. And then I asked, and then Phil caught this. It's amazing. You can read something 20 times, you give it to somebody, and they say, oh, you got a typo right here in the bottom. And it says, what you like. It should have been, would you like to attend book signings, readings, or House of Ujamaa events? And that's yes. And if you do, let us know. So having said that, I mentioned earlier about Zaki, and I mentioned about Robert Earl by Sherry Price. And it's the same thing about my kid, Boozy Moore, Alice Lovelace, or Sam Grisham, any of those poets that we kind of connected back in the 80s. But I remember one night there was something happened at 7 Stages before they moved down the street to the theater there. And now remember 7 Stages was in that little hole in the wall right up there across from the community bar? And it was literally snowing. And halfway into the event, somebody came through the door to the event in the snow. And that's when I knew that my kid was a true believer. So she said, even today, when I called my kid, she says, you know, I slipped the other day and I either broke my ankle, twisted my ankle, or whatever, but I'm coming. And so here she is. So my kid got asked you to do maybe 3 pieces or so. And then we'll, you know, because we're going to wrap towards conclusion, but we want you to do if we can do that. And if the Spirit moves you to do something else after that, you please feel free. But do you want to do it from there? Now that chair actually rolls. So
Actually, that's why I wanted it.
Huh? Okay. Right.
You know, I have a little
You have a
wheelchair push too. Yeah, that'll help.
So
We'll
this
get there
one-
faster. And I was gonna talk and roll.
So before my kids stop, I just want you to make a note of this. In '85, she comes to an event. You know how seldom we get snow in Atlanta, but that New York spirit brought her to that little hole in the wall in 5 Points to be a part of that event today. And whatever I said, or whatever our relationship is from the 80s, 85 or so when we met, here you sit today, wrapped up ankle and everything. So thank you. Okay?
Yeah, well, I did indeed break my ankle, but, and fell. Have you ever heard of, like, face first? I literally fell face first. And this is the first time I've come out because my face is a little rough on this side. Because my right was just a mess. But, of course, Akbar is so special that there's no way in the world I would miss this. No way in the world. And a sister friend asked me if I wanted to go see, go to a reception for a showing of Elizabeth Catlett downtown. And I'm like, oh no, you know, my foot's broken. And the doctor told me 2 weeks, and it's only been 1, right? But then I said, is that alive, Lord? Because I'm getting ready to go to Akbar. But anyway, I honor and respect my brother, and he's truly a wonderful, wonderful person. So, this is for the male literary freedom fighters, and I'd like to dedicate it to my brother, my real brother, Akbar Imhotep. It's called Palm Touch, and you're really welcome to clap after this, just for him, okay? Not often do I press palms for you. Say I recognize the gun in pen, bullet on paper shooting, and champion the cause. Cheer the crusader. Bolster the spirit of one left nearly empty from the fight. Not often. More likely, movement through brick soles of feet on stone, protest through absence of smile on face cast in shadow. Rock eyes of no light hurl blame. You move, brace through pain of misunderstanding, book placed before face as shield, Cabral spirit growing, Malcolm force moving. You, armed with intellect, into battle. The palm touch is not soft. Listen, there is much in silence. Love. A touch of calloused hand to beard or on back rubbing, sunflex in rock eyes warming, applause resonating through feet touching granite with its intensity. Listen, the palms thunder. This next piece is for Barack Obama. And I don't know about you, but I have been, honestly, a little disappointed by some of the things that he's done, you know, things not done. What I felt has been his kind of trying to merge with people who don't want to be a part of what you're trying to do. And I really feel for him because his presidency has shown our children that racism is not dead. In fact, very much alive. His presidency has shown us that freedom ain't free, that you are never safe. And I do believe that when that couple, came into that party that time, uninvited, and managed to have a good time, I do believe that was the Secret Service saying to him, now if you do the bidding of those who are truly in power, then we'll let you live. But if you don't, you will die. And it's just as simple as us turning our heads at the right time. I do believe that's what that was. That was a demonstration of what's possible. A very mild and lovely warning. And so I think some of the things that he's done has not been because he's wanted to, but because he felt he had to. And because of that, I still hope and pray that if you're voting, you'll vote for him, because the alternative is a nightmare. And I'm here to tell you that for real. So this was a piece that I wrote for the Fulton County news sheet that Michael Samaga put together, celebrating the day that Obama was elected, was elected. It's called A Victory for a New Vision. A new paradigm, this man, made of coffee and cream, half king, half Kennedy, Malcolm's manner and Harriet's heart. With a soul full of ancient wisdom, come to share liberation, give it form and a face, his father's lip and mother's jaw, a voice to give vision to our victory, and ears to rest our weary concerns, eyes to see generations of injustice, a nose to smell poverty's stench, a head nodding to acknowledge hurt, and hands offering healing as imperative. His stride in African pride glide, his ease in the company of all is the gift of his mother's inherited skin privilege, his compassion from his humble circumstances a shared American condition. His eyes illustrate knowledge gained by sitting at the feet of brilliant black men and women, surrounding himself with keenly intelligent people who span the range of human geography. He is the human branch of the tree of life of we who live in the United States of North America, and all impacted by its policies. We hang on to him like a sturdy branch for help, for hope, for reconstruction and reinvention of this infected tree threatening to crush us all. His promise to recover this huge, diseased organic structure by discovering the cure for this cancer called greed has made the unthinkable real, the apparently impossible inherently essential, and absolutely inevitable. This man called Obama has given the young, the old, the disillusioned, and the disaffected a place to posit their hunger for justice and the promise of nourishing sustenance. He is the symbol of joy, justice, peace, liberation, a new paradigm of power, pride, love, realized. Obama. Now, my last piece is going to be something that I hope you'll enjoy. When Akbar and I were hanging out, and all the rest of the brothers that he mentioned, and so many more in New York, Chicago, different places, it was always a thing of, that must be your man. Even though my sister has always been there, and she has always been my sister, and, it was just absolutely absurd, even though the two of us sometimes mistake it for each other. But it was just crazy. But that's how it was, as they say, as my children say, back in the day. When men and women together, there must be some, romantic connection, right? And if that was the case, I would have been the biggest female dog there was, you know, because I hung out with a lot of men because they made such good friends. And plus they look and smell so good. So I love my brothers. Yes, I do. But, you know, one time, I don't know if you all know this particular brother, Eugene Redmond. You know Eugene? Everybody know Eugene? Okay.
I know Eugene.
Okay. Well, one time Eugene Redmond was reading with the brother they used to call Don L. Lee. And that brother looked a lot like my ex-husband. So my daughter, who was a baby about 3, he walked up to the stage and my baby said, she's now 35 and just bought a house, y'all. And getting ready to get her master's too. But anyway, she was then 3 years old and she said, Daddy, Daddy! And everybody looked and like, oh my God. I didn't know Malkia and the brother had something. Oh! And that went on for like a year. It took a year to get rid of that little rumor because they just knew that was his child. And then when he looked at her, you know, because she was more his complexion than mine, and it's like, wow, that is his baby. It was really deep. I'm like, oh my God. So anyway, that's what this poem is about. And brother, if you want to do the drum thing, I'm really not adverse to that. You know, I like rhythm. If you feel that my work doesn't fit, it's all right. But the thing is, like, can a sister who doesn't sing find notes in shadows? That kind of thing. So just, you know, Get
the words first and then go with it.
All right.
Okay. Can a sister who doesn't sing find notes in shadows that cakewalk to morning against a wall of wisdom weeping against a tree raining sap and softwood? Can we be wed by metaphor, seek no conjugal rights, steer away from beds that creep downward, spring new life, make words the birthright, death wail, resurrection ritual? Find rhythm in stone, chant purity and love, bond being poem that grows, becomes old woman blues time. Betsy ain't got nothing on me. Fire engine red song sleeping, awaiting your kiss before kiss. That made it all so hard. Waking to words, washing over, getting down, even though we dare not.
You.
Then Cassie. Then you.
Okay. All right. Go ahead. You good.
Okay. So when I was competing in California, one of the, like, at the end of the competition, they have the Grand Slam, which is when you find out who is, like, the best poetry team of all the colleges in America. And the feature for that was this slam poet named Bo Sia. And I didn't know a lot about him, but when he got up, he did a 30-minute poem. And he did a 30-minute poem that isn't published. He's not planning on doing it again. And it was probably like the realest thing I had heard the whole week. And one of the lines from that was, "Poet is not a uniform that makes a human being complete." And I think a lot, just like being in competition, you get to see all the different egos, and even just writing, you like. Poets, or competitive poets, are an interesting breed of people. And I had always kind of had an issue with the word, like saying, oh, hey, I'm Sarah, I'm a poet, just because I felt like it sets people up. People put these expectations on you, or they expect to hear like this mind-blowing stuff, or they want you to qualify for their ruling of what is a poet. So I wrote this poem about a couple months ago. I took a poetry class at school where it was like a directed writing workshop, and that's all we did. We wrote poetry every week, and this poem is kind of about that. And the teacher of that class was Olga Brumas, who is a published poet who teaches at Brandeis. Olga is the only person allowed to call me a poet. The word is its sweetest as it rings on her lips, the syllables stretch deep, a meditative breath. She makes it sound normal, like metaphors could ever properly medicate depression, like there is something positive about pretending to write away emotions in ink that fades. Like there is a point to all this pain and it is wisdom, not weakness, that leads us to pour it into words. I have read the stains of a dozen bleeding hearts, smoothed myself across coarse paper and given voice to the madness, staged and amplified. I call it poetry. But the label is a worn band-aid that refuses to stick over a wound that never learned how to heal. The words never feel strong enough. I never sound like a poet. She says everyone who dreams is a poet. But every dreamer is not a writer, worthy of scholastic merit. I worship you wordsmiths, but you are all broken, like me. Oh, and like after I read this poem in class, Olga definitely nominated me for like this like poet award that I ended up winning. So winning.
Okay, so my poem's kind of about that too, but like it's just about slamming. I've only been slamming for 1 year, so it was interesting to develop as a writer in the slam scene, like competing with other poets and like just art and competition in general, because a lot of times you want to say that art is subject to opinion and everyone's art is beautiful, but then you have slam, which kind of contradicts that in a way, because you get scores, you have judges, and actually I just put out a video today or yesterday about slam, and it has this poem in it, and yeah, here it is. My father says that I should become a doctor, an engineer, a mathematician, anything other than an architect or a poet. Since I have to think about providing for a family, that there are people depending on my progression, that this generation cannot afford to go backwards, but I want to tell him that I've become both an architect and a poet, that I cannot afford to go forward if it means leaving so many behind. You see, as poets, we have a job to do. We may not be heart surgeons, but I'm here to bear witness that words can heal the most fatal wounds, and stanzas are more powerful than sutures. There have been nights that the words of a poet have kept me alive. We cannot afford not to write. We cannot afford to be silent. I may be poor, but man, have you ever been paid in smiles? Have you ever spent tears? My audience, they pay with their presence, because I know the courage it takes some days just to show up. And I know the bravery it takes just being. And I know, they know, how many demons I face on the way to this stage. Poets, we have a job to do. There is too much at stake, too much to lose. Judas sold out Jesus for 30 coins, a perfect score. Have we too put our salvation on the line for approval? How far can we stoop without falling from heaven? How hot will our heads get before we are merely an extension of hell? Fire, beautiful to watch, but safe touching no one. There have been nights that this movement resembles the Holocaust. Our silent majority mercilessly executing the masses, and our silence has been mistaken for agreement. We applaud the poet, but the point is our complacent snaps are not enough. And I cannot help but think, had I been any more fragile, had I been any more prone to breaking, I would not be standing here, indignant of a broken system which ugly poets are revered for flowery stanzas and hotheads rewarded for their sharp tongues. Poets, we have a job to do. We're not doing it when we allow 15-year-old girls to stop reading, to stop writing, to stop breathing. Once I told my friend he had a Superman complex. Alex, why do you insist on saving everyone? Why must you always mold yourself into the missing pieces of a person, but sitting in that chair? I got it. I understood, because when that little girl left the stage looking utterly triumphant, only to be slapped in the face with low scores, I wanted to save her. I wanted to tell her, don't you dare stop writing. Don't you dare stop breathing. We're a poet, and baby, we have a job to do. We all do. We have people hanging on our every word. We have people hanging themselves on our every word, and the survivors are crucified by our silence.
Okay, come on. Amani's going to come back. She has a piece that she's going to share with us, and then I'll do a piece to close us out, and then we'll go from there.
I actually found one that I wrote a year ago before I kind of changed my style of writing. And it was for my godfather that passed last year. And it never got edited and has never really been spoken. So, it's a big first. It's called A Sweet Lullaby. There's no way that I can rewind time, but this much I can do, and I just want to say thank you. Thank you for filling my childhood with laughter and pleasant memories, for playing my 2-year-old games without a question or second thought, for being that person to simply embrace another and have a magic working down to DNA's core, for being that father figure to love, protect, and to nurture, leaving me with memories I shall never forget. Salt and pepper hair atop an elongated face to hold together that wild smile in those bright eyes. Millions you've touched, thousands you've cared for, but millions will never forget you. Never have I met a man so truthful and genuine and pure, with a laugh as infectious as yours, who couldn't agree. I remember back when calling you on my toy phone as if you would pick up and say hello, but to me, you did. You picked up and we would converse for hours on end, because to me you never left, just as now. You still haven't left. The joy you brought, the laughs we had, the hugs you gave. The love I felt will never leave me. And as I gaze upon a full moon, breathtaking, breathing in the love energy and exhaling the stress and worry, I will remember you. That is what you are for everyone around you, making these steps through life seem just a little less stressful and a little less strenuous. You embody that love and that God energy. Anyone could feel it in your presence. So, Ozzy, my friend, my family, my self-proclaimed godfather, I thank you and I love you.
So after I do this piece, then you can close it out. And then maybe Makeda and Phil can say something about the store again. Basically, I told Makeda a few weeks ago that part of my frustration is like, I left graduate school to become an actor and a writer. And I somehow got on the storytelling trail, because to be honest, I actually made more money as a storyteller than I ever made as an actor. So sometimes you just got to go where you get paid more often. But even before I was an actor, I wrote poetry. And this event today has been like a booster shot for me as an artist, as a poet, as a whole lot of things. And I was thinking intergenerational poetry event, and just a word person. And when Sarah said spirit spectrum, I don't know if you guys can feel the spirit in this room like I do. You know, we're coming from our late teenagers all the way to our 60 plus, all kind of experiences, all kind of educational levels and everything. You know, my heart is overflowing. And I had select, you know, you look through, you say, what am I going to read? And I had chosen this piece, and I pray that even the things that I've talked about, the being at the Crystal River and the ancestral journey being delayed, I hope that those two pieces, even when I went through it, presented a bright side, like I hope this piece will too. It's called Danger Zone. Tell you what, where's that water? Is there a bottle of water back there? We're going to end this piece there, so I'll read a piece, then we're in. You're approaching a danger zone when you start understanding why people get high, drunk, or numb themselves with various substances, legal and otherwise. Sometimes you just want not to feel what you're feeling. Sometimes you just want to substitute a few moments of artificial euphoria for the feelings and shortcomings and disappointments. Many would say try prayer. But what do you do when the pain is still there after you pray? Some say let go, let God fight the battle. But what do you do when circumstances say you're still a loser? Others say turn challenge into opportunity. You have to look for silver linings in all things. And the challenges are still there. You want to sneak away and fire something up and let the pain temporarily float away in the smoke. I know it's all temporary. And the reality will still be there when the euphoria or the hangover wears off. But damn, you need to let go for a moment, a night, a while, just to feel something other than how do I get myself out of this rut? You give thanks to God in all things, and things keep getting messy. We have to give more thanks and endure more pain, but still we know that God is in control. So whether it's with prayer, weed, or vodka, in the end, the problem must be solved with clear minds and positive thoughts. I don't want to enter the danger zone. I live in a neighborhood with schools and package stores and absolutely no zero niche meal grocery store. From sunrise to sunset, the brothers and sisters seek numbness to hide the pain of unfulfilled lives and shattered dreams. But with all the blessings that have come my way, I dare not volunteer to become victim and seek to hide from my reality. For as King Solomon said, this too shall pass. Now I'll leave the danger zone and wrap myself in prayer and meditation, knowing that to whom much is given, much is required. So I'll hide my pain in poems and creativity. I'll convert my inadequacies into artistic legacies and use every failure as a stepping stone for transformation. Thank you.
I don't think I want to read another one. So the piece I'm about to share is supposed to be in my mind, but it might not be, so bear with me. Periodically I sit, pen to page, words dancing across my mind stage, set on writing the remedy to some societal ill, but somehow still, against my will, I keep writing love poems. Trapped in the bed of my heart at an ungodly hour, berated by info mercenaries, set on converting my silent heartbreak into a cacophony of metaphors about the one that I adored. Trapped in your matrix, and like Neo, I too am sick of love songs you sing to me. Your coarse lullabies swirl around my psyche, running circles around the stuff I actually want to write about. A heart-shaped teardrop falls on the paper, and before I know it, I am here. Comforted by tears, confronting the reality of a lover's dream deferred, reciting another love poem.
And as Makeda come now. On that survey I asked you, what did you like most about Spirit Spectrum? What did you find most enjoyable? And what could we add? I'd really like for you to fill that out for us. And
Can I do mine verbally? My Spirit Spectrum experience is wonderful because his family is here.
Sure.
I want to speak to why the survey is so important. Because a lot of, some people, whatever you may know about me and may not, but I am an artist, I'm an entrepreneur, I'm a social entrepreneur.
Yeah.
And you're standing in a place that I spent 10 years helping to develop, which was to save this particular corner from here around to 19 Joseph Lowry, which used to be Sunrunners. And we, as a community, decided that this was our sacred ground, and we weren't going to let them tear this down like they tear the rest of it down. So in conjunction with a dear sister, Precious Muhammad, who had the credit worthiness, and see, that's some homework that the young people got to understand. You got to have credit worthiness. We were able to get together with the Bronner brothers, and I remember going to Thanksgiving dinner over their home, and talking to them about legacy and having meetings with all of the so-called sons of the legacy keepers, Julian Michael Bond, the Nathaniel Brana, Marty King, Ralph David Abernathy III, and asking them what were they going to do. At this point, this was torn down. If you know the community, it was torn down. Precious secured the property by getting a loan that she could qualify for. We, as a neighborhood, did the funding through something called the Neighborhood Fund Westside TAD for the renovations. But we're still challenged because of how we as a people have not evolved to protect our own selves. Because Sister Precious still has to pay a note every month on the money that she had the credit worthiness for. So I say that to you while you're here. So as you pass the word on, we're not giving up, and we're not giving up this corner, because with the vision that's happening with this community, downtown is coming. They're aggressively coming. And yet, although I've been yelling in the wilderness for the last 11 years, black folks, buy your own property in your own communities, buy your own property in your own communities, very few have heard. So, I'm not a racist and I love everyone. But I just know that we haven't understood what economics mean. I'm very proud of my daughter. And it has been a long journey for us. A journey that has been often misunderstood. But I don't believe that I would have been able to be responsible to my ancestors if I did not leave my community better than I found it. And I remember having a dream one night. And in this dream, the Spirit brought to me how I was doing so much. I've often been accused of loving the community more than anything else. But that's who I am, and that's how I was raised. And in this dream, the Spirit said, you do so many things and you've done so much, but what have you done with the one I gave you? And at that point, I understood the sincerity and the commitment of motherhood and the sacrifice that it means and requires. And I'm really honored by what you have become. I feel that if this was my last day, I know that the ancestors would say, well done, because you are ready to carry the torch. And I have to say this because she came home with a tattoo. And she's been wanting a tattoo all her life. But what she chose touched my heart so deeply because it's what I've told her every day of her life. The dream and the hope of the slaves. So as she sojourns back to the motherland of Ghana to share her skills, I pray that we all will support her in any way that we can. I'm going to put a donation box or something somewhere so you can drop something in there for her. Because this is a child who has been a scholar, and we have struggled together. And I've always said to her, my job is to provide for you. Your job is to excel and understand that you are the hope of the slaves. And so I can tell from where she is now that she will soar to great heights and represent all of us. But can we as a village and community support her in her journey? Ashe.
Thank you. Phil, did you want to say anything?
I just want to thank everybody for coming. And this was a great, this was what we live for. And as you leave, like she was saying, there's a basket in front. If you fill to it, that we need to continue just about donation. We have cupcakes here that was made by the sister.
I'm going to do it like the church does.
And some pie.
Okay.
All right? Anyway, thank you again.
may not appreciate this, but I'm sorry, I'm gonna do it like at the church. Because I understand that nothing comes free. Not the light, not the utilities, not the air conditioning. So I'm gonna pass the bucket, and you can do what you will.
And as that is happening, Phil has already thanked everybody. Fill out the form. Thank you for coming.
Thank you.
Oh yeah, Dwight, I did find something. I found it.
Yeah.